This is Ryan with Pro Trailblazer, and this is a speed run through slash commands in Claude Code. I'm going to go through them quick. I'm going to show you the basics. Let's get to it. So clear clears the context. It clears the conversation. So if you didn't need to know anything up until now, me clearing this conversation between us would mean you're starting fresh and you're like, oh, this is a brand new video. That's clear. Compact is a little bit different. Let's say I say make a document, and I'll say text with, you know what, who cares about typos, 10 animals. This is speed run. Animals. Okay. And it's going to go into my slash command folder, and it's going to make some animals. Let's take a look here. So here we are. We've got animals. We've got an animals.txt. There it is. So we've created a conversation. We've got some context going on. Now let's say that we want to smash a gigantic conversation down to the little bits that we need to carry the conversation on. That's where compact comes into play. And Claude Code will do it automatically if you get far enough into the conversation. So don't fret. You can do this and it will just get rid of the fine-grained details. It'll keep the big picture stuff moving forward. And you're about to see that in just a second. I'm going to hit Control-O to expand this. And here's what it put together. So this is the compact summary of what we've done so far. A request. These are the technical concepts. These are the files. It's actually a lot of context for such a little amount of stuff we've done so far. So that is what compact is. Slash exit exits out of Claude Code. We're not going to do that right now. That's what it does. And slash fork takes the conversation and makes a parallel conversation like the one you're having. So a conversation that I can think of in real life that has to do with forking conversations is the classic, where do you want to go eat conversation? Imagine if you could have a conversation with someone and say, where do you want to go eat? And then there's a pause, and then you create a succession of like conversations. Let's dine in, or I'm gonna make pasta, or let's have pizza. And then the second you see yes in one of those parallel conversations, once you hear a yes to like pizza, you can go back to the main conversation and just say pizza, and that's the right idea. And all of those forked conversations can just be thrown away. And the conversation reads in the future, where do you want to go eat? Do you want to get pizza? Yeah. And you just carry on with your life. That's what forking a conversation does in this and with Claude Code. If you want to experiment with the conversation and you don't necessarily know if it should be the right conversation. So the next one that we have is resume. Resume allows you to resume a session. So if you have used Claude Code, you can see the history of all your chats. Clicking on an old chat loads up the old chat. Let's see what it looks like though. We can go resume there. We can see clear. These are all the different conversations I've had just in the making of this video. So that's what those are. Next up, we've got rename. And we've got rewind. So slash rewind, it allows you to go back in time and reload all the files. It's basically like Time Machine on Mac or something. Like you can double back to when it was a certain time in the conversation. And all the files are back to where they were. So that is rewind. Next, we've got export. And what export will do, and it's going to save to a file a conversation. So if we take a look right here, what we've got is a 0-byte file. They have no conversational context at all because I cleared it out. And it creates a blank file in this case, or a history of what you have talked about in the conversation as plain text. So that's what export does. Let's keep it going and just hop right into model and effort. And if you're still watching this video, please make sure to like and subscribe with Pro Trailblazer. It's all things digital creative, leaning in pretty heavy on AI right now because it's super important. And it has a very good use case in a lot of different things that we do as creatives. There's also going to be music production, motion graphics, web development, product design. The stuff I do as a freelance developer is the stuff that I make videos of. So thanks a lot for watching. Model and effort. Let's take a look here. A model switches the mode. So if I do slash model, this changes the model. So Opus is the big one during the time of this filming. Sonnet is medium, and Haiku is the tiny one. So I tend to use Opus basically as the teacher, and then I use Sonnet as the worker. That's like the pretty common way that I use models, and I switch during conversations, the context shifts from one to the other. So you don't have to just talk to one and then reiterate yourself with the other. You can switch on the fly during the conversation in Claude Code, and the context transfers over in between the different models. That's super useful, and I use it all the time. The next one that we have is effort. So now effort has a little Easter egg in it. What effort allows you to do is change how hard the individual model works for you. So I'm just going to say, so I don't have to list the efforts. So if I do list the efforts, we're going to be able to see what efforts are available. So this is all of the efforts and how they work. It's typically on auto from what I've seen. One of the ultimate tips in terms of using effort is ultra think. So what ultra think will do is if I say, list 10 animals, ultra think, what it'll do when it sees this rainbow ultra think is it'll use high one time. So one pass back and forth, it's going to use ultra think, and then it's going to dial back down. So now it's picking out 10 animals, and it's putting an extra work into it, and it's adding it as a text file. So here we go. So here's our file. And now when we go back to model, what we're going to find is that it is back to default. And if we go to effort, it is at auto, currently medium. So for one pass, it did the big high token spending, thoughtful version, and then it went back down. It's a great safety switch so you don't burn up all your tokens accidentally. So next up, we've got fast. Fast allows you to turn it on or off. And what fast mode does is it uses a faster speed, but it also uses your additional billing from what I've seen. So if I type in fast right now, it'll give me a warning that says fast mode requires extra billing. Next, we got context and cost. So what context does is it lays out this cool little graphic of your context usage. So it shows you how you're using it and how big the conversation context is, and most importantly, how much room you have left in the context. So as you get closer and closer to the compacting, these spots will fill up with this information. So you can see how you're using your context as you're working through. That level of transparency is really cool that you have the ability to see this so easily. Next, we're on to cost. If I type in /cost, it's going to show me how I'm using my subscription or if I'm using API credits currently. That's a good thing to keep in mind. After that, we've got usage. Usage is something I just have on my computer all the time in a browser. Next is add directory. So let's take a look at add directory here. I'm just going to clear out. What add directory does is it allows you to add a folder. So if I do add.dir and then I drag any folder in on my desktop, aside from the one that I'm working in, it won't allow you to do that. I'm just going to drag the screen share in here. So once you add in your directory and you click go, it says I can now see the screenshot or the folder, and you can use all of the information in that folder to work with the Claude Code project you're working on. So that's add directory. The next one that we have is init. Init loads up all the things that you need in the project. So what this does is this creates a memory file, a claude.md file, that gives it a synopsis of what's going on in the project. It creates the Claude directory that stores the commands and the skills. And it just basically gets everything needed in terms of what needs to happen to run Claude with some level of understanding of what's going on in the project. So you can see here, created this claude.md file, and these files can get really, really detailed. You'll see in future videos how I use prompt engineering to create useful claude.md files, skills, and commands. So that's how to use init. Let's clear this out. Let's clean up a little bit, and let's go to memory. So we're going to do /memory. Memory shows you, well, that it's on. A memory can also be global, or it can be project oriented, or it can be auto. I tend to use auto all the time, unless I'm working on a very specialized project where I don't want it to use considerations that I've used on other projects. If you want something completely new and outside of all of the scenarios that you've decided for yourself with other projects, going just from the memory of the project that you're working in is what you would want to turn on for your project. Skills is how you can find all the skills that have to do with the project. So if I do /skills, here are the individual skills. You can ask Claude Code what the skills do, how they work, when they would be useful. It has a really good understanding of them. Now, last but not least is plan. Now, plan will allow you to plan with Claude without messing up any of your files. So if you do /plan, This will turn on the plan mode. Plan mode can't edit your files, can't make changes to any of your codes. It's a place to plan, create skills, create training for Claude, do the basic work with Claude without affecting the project itself. And that's it. We made it from session management through model and effort, the context and cost, and project and memory. I hope you learned at least one new slash command or one new fact about one you already knew something about. And if you have, I appreciate a like and a follow. I'm Ryan. This is Pro Trailblazer. Thank you very much for watching.